How, Lauren, do we feel after 3 games? Just give me like a general overview before we dive in more specifically.
I mean, honestly, after game 3, quite pleased, even though they lost, which I don't care about that in the preseason. Whatever. Do your thing. Ravens or whatever.
Yeah, well, not anymore.
No, not anymore. That's see, that's how little I cared about it in the first place.
No, 100%. I mean, especially when you have a rookie quarterback, your goal should probably be, let's not get this guy killed. Let's make sure this guy knows where the receivers are going to be.
Yes, and let's, attempt a few passes beyond the sticks.
Absolutely. We drafted this kid for a reason. Let's let him do his thing.
Yeah, and they did all of those things, and they even scored a touchdown, which I loved.
Very nice. We're going to get to all of it. For people watching on the YouTube feed, you will see we are both in hats celebrating Bryce Young. Lauren's Bryce Up Son. Mine says my sweet tiny prince. Hers is Panthers colors. Mine is Bama colors. And that really is sort of the nexus of this show, right? Because we are tracking his transition, Bryce Young's transition into being a pro. And before I ask you our question that we start with every week, I do think this week more than ever before, even the doubters had to look at his performance and say, okay, I can see the path to him being a viable, good NFL starting quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I wasn't necessarily a doubter.
Oh, yeah.
For me,
by the way, that comment was directed specifically to Chris Sims.
Why do we still listen to his opinions on football at all? I mean, I'm asking sincerely.
Yeah, because we're a content economy and he makes content.
And yeah, I guess there's lots of room for bad content and opinions, whatever. I don't usually care what he has to say. Although, to be fair, the Panthers' own quarterback coach is the one that I would not necessarily want coaching my QBs.
You mean
unless it's do as I say, not as I do?
You mean future Texans head coach Josh McCown? Wait a minute. Is it Josh or Luke? It's Josh, right?
It's Josh.
Okay. Did you know there's a third McCown brother?
Yes.
Like Daryl or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. Just 2 quarterbacks that love to throw interceptions.
Right. And then one that never got the chance because he never got, I don't even think he started in college, if I remember right.
That's probably right.
Yeah. All right, Lauren, let's ask the question. Bryce Young, was he too short this week? No, he was very tall and handsome.
I mean, he doesn't have to be tall to be handsome,
No, agreed.
And he doesn't have to be tall to be good.
I have that AT&T commercial that played all through last college football season on in my head of the woman shouting, "He's so short," and then the AT&T girl says, "You're looking very handsome, Tyler, very tall." That is what I think about Bryce every time he drops back.
Yes, no, for sure. I get it. I get it from that. He's standing tall.
Yes,
maybe that's standing tall.
And I will say this, I didn't notice that tall stance was on the tiptoes this week. And I have started looking for it.
I didn't notice it either, actually, come to think of it.
Yeah.
That for sure. And then you actually saw him have time to make reads.
Right.
Find open receivers, choose amongst them, which is the best option. I was like, woo, now we're cooking with gas, people.
Not only that, you saw him recognize a lot quicker that, it's time to go.
Yes,
and
100%.
His scrambles were not limited to, let me at least get past the line of scrimmage. I mean,
his internal clock has noticeably sped up.
Absolutely. Back-to-back scampers on the 3rd and 4th offensive snaps for the Panthers. Back-to-back scampers that totaled about 9 yards. He had another one, which was even more impressive in his second drive, where he just sort of ducked it and ran, right?
I feel like scamper is such an appropriate word for that. Like, I don't know what you would have called, like, for instance, like what Cam would have done.
Yeah.
Like a
barrel.
That's exactly the word I was thinking of. A barrel through you. Or, sometimes he'll juke you too. But it's a scamper. It's very cute.
I thought this week we saw, like, very much in the spotlight what Frank Reich and Scott Fitterer were talking about in terms of, there may be, like, CJ Stroud might have had a stronger arm, but that you're just not going to match Bryce's processing. And as a Bryce Young apologist, I know that's part of what I've been preaching, but man, it was really on display on an NFL clock this week.
And that's what made me feel better. That's what I've been wanting to see. It's not that I doubt what his potential could be based on preseason, but it's also like, well, can I see a little bit of it?
Yeah.
Just touch.
Yeah.
You know.
And listen, speaking for Bama fans and all of us that had to suffer through Bill O'Brien's play calling the last 2 years, how was that for me or was that for Bill O'Brien?
Bill O'Brien.
Okay, very good. It's amazing how well a slant pattern works.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
If you have a quarterback that needs to work quick and you have a receiver with that kind of speed that Jonathan Mingo has, it's amazing how effective and reliable a slant pattern can be.
And that's not the easiest pass. Like it seems it's deceptive.
Well,
like it seems easy.
This is part of why I said last week that I actually have really high expectations for Mingo and Bryce together is that I think both the completion on, I think the first snap of the game, right? Because he came out throwing his first 5 snaps.
Something like that.
Or at least was the post of throw because 2 of them were
and
scrambles.
They kept going beyond the first down line.
Absolutely.
Like, oh.
But like every slant he has thrown to Mingo has been about anticipation. The one that was incomplete was where Mingo stopped short. So I'm super impressed with what I saw coming out of this week from Bryce Young and from the receivers too.
Yeah, receivers, the O-line was still improving and you could see the improvement even from game 2. And obviously game 1 was a complete tire fire. Yeah. and then coaching staff as well. Like obviously they understood that they needed to get him in some situations where he could find a way to get some confidence before going into week 1 and belief in himself. Not that he lacked that necessarily, but like just to like do it in a live action game, like you said, at the NFL level, like that's important.
Yeah. We saw a variety of running backs in this game. None of them Miles Sanders again, which look, we knew that was going to be the case. I just wonder at what point do we...
If you've got 8 running backs, no, you have 0.
That's kind of the case right now. Listen, I love seeing Spencer Brown out there. I don't think he's going to factor in. Like he might make the roster as like the last guy, the last running back on the roster.
If he can special team, he might stay longer.
Maybe. I mean, listen, I just liked him in college. I liked what a little bowling ball he was at UAB.
Little bowling balls.
But I just wonder when we are going to acknowledge that, like, hey, Miles Sanders is new to this. And granted, everyone's new to this offense because it's a new coaching staff, new quarterback. Like the only continuity that we feel really good about is Icky, and we don't feel as good about him as we did even a month ago.
No, I'm not willing still to throw him in the...
I'm not throwing him away. I'm saying
no, I know.
Our feelings have changed.
Yeah, I'm just saying like that's where I'm at. And my only concern with him is like every game now he's had at least one play where it seemed as if he did not know whom or could not see whom he was supposed to be blocking. Is it whom or whomst? I don't know. Whatever. Or who.
I was about to say, is it not just who?
I don't know. I'm all
it was so here's the thing, because overall he looked a lot better. That moment really stood out.
Well, right. Because yes, he did. And he made a more noticeable positive impact, which is something I was looking for from him too. Because in the other games, it seemed like he was just kind of scraping by and then would would be awful for a few plays. And, you know, it was just one play this time. So like good on him. But it was just like, it was literally like he didn't even see the person he was supposed to block again.
Yeah. And I wonder, so it's a brain farty kind of thing where
I guess
it's so hard for me to figure out what it is otherwise, because
maybe he just can't see. Maybe his visor's too dark.
Do you think it is a matter of like, is this a loser's attitude with the dark visor? Like you're playing in daytime attitude and we're playing for primetime now.
Well, I think like if Frank Reich wants to pump him up a little, he can just say, listen, you can't really see the big picture. They love to say that.
Yes.
You can't see the big picture if your vision is darkened. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's not, so we're joking, but it's not something that we haven't heard from coaches before.
I mean, yeah, they love talking about seeing the big picture. They don't usually say it literally.
Right.
But you do hear coaches annoyed with players for using the dark visors, depending on the position, especially. And like, if you can't see, maybe it's a blocking mix-up. I don't know, but it's also like then he doesn't even go for the guy that's going right past him. So that's what makes it look like he doesn't see him.
Okay, so that actually makes more sense than what I have been thinking, which is, does he think that there's someone does he just forget he's a tackle and not a guard?
That would be puzzling to me because he's been at tackle most of his career.
No, like I'm saying, that he doesn't see him makes way more sense than any other alternative, which if that's the case.
I mean, it seems a little far-fetched too, potentially, but also like based on what we visually see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of it is, even if he does have perfect vision in that visor, and that visor is something of a, I don't know, like maybe it's a security blanket kind of thing for him, of avoiding cheap shots. Like, at what point as the coaching staff do you say, hey, we are going to change as many of the little things as we can to eliminate the little things that lead to big mistakes?
I mean, I'd love to say that I'm 100% confident that after this has happened for like 3 games in a row, that the coaching staff would be like, would have noticed it after a game or two and been like, hey man,
can I like, can
you see,
not to throw Icky or even the coaching staff under the bus, but like, if you're an NFL player and an NFL head coach, why do you need 3 games before you have that conversation?
I mean, look, maybe there's something going on behind the scenes that we have no idea about.
I was going to say, to be fair, after game 1, they had a lot of guys they had to talk to.
Right, for sure. And then there's also the fact of, sometimes coaches can outthink themselves, and maybe the simplest solution isn't always the most evident one. And then it happens to us in life. You try to like complicated solution a problem and you're like, oh, I just needed to do this.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I would have just done that.
Where are we at overall on the offensive line as we head into the regular season? I am
Meh and a half.
Meh and a half, I think, is right, because I was like at oh boy after game 1, and it's definitely not oh boy.
But I was still at after the second game. I was at a yikes.
I was at one point after Kayvon Thibodeau just blew right past Icky.
Yeah.
I'm closer to oh boy than oh boy, but I'm not at oh boy.
No, definitely not.
I'm definitely not there, but
I'm more at like oh boy.
Yeah, I'm sarcastic. I think that's where I am. I'm at a huh.
That's good.
Not like a huh, but a huh. Like that's what
I'm at a oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Welcome to Phonics with Demetri and Lauren.
Welcome to finding passive-aggressive ways to say how you really feel about something. We are in the South, after all.
Absolutely. So what right now? Oh man, speaking of being in the South and transitioning from passive-aggressive to everyone else is gone and we can be. What's your biggest problem going into the season?
It's actually, for me, it's a problem that they've had for a long time, and one that has frustrated me for years, and that I don't think they've fully solved, like getting a culture in place on this side of the ball and making it good every year. I feel like they sacrifice it every year as special teams. Like I legit think they haven't had elite special teams since their first Super Bowl season.
Define that for me. Because look, in this part of the country, we say elite special teams, everyone is thinking Beamer ball, right? And that's not possible.
No, I'm not talking about blocking punts and kicks. That's cool if you can do it.
Yeah.
I'm talking about having a good coverage unit that you can trust to get a punt returner or a kick returner down. And we saw 3 or 4 dudes bounce right off a Lion as if he were made of Vaseline.
The first kickoff that the Panthers, the first time the Panthers kicked to the Lions, and forgive me, I don't know who the Lions returner was.
I don't either. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it really doesn't matter, because it wasn't a matter of that dude's vision. It was wherever he went, a hole opened up, not he went to where the holes are.
Right.
It was just...
No, it was opening up for him.
Yeah, it was a lack of discipline. More than anything, it was a lack of discipline on that side.
A ton of missed tackles. It was just bad. And the thing is, like, there's so much you can do with good special teams. It just puts your team in a better position.
Yep.
It puts you in better field position. All of that. If you have bad special teams, you're backed up against your own goal line a lot. You have the opposing offense starting like near midfield half the time. Like it's not worth it.
You've talked to more coaches in your career than I have. And granted, it was on the college level, but both college and the NFL changed their touchback to 25 yards on a kickoff. And so I wonder what you hear from coaches in terms of what the strategy is. Is it a matter of, like, are those 5 extra yards such a difference maker that if you can force a return, you'd rather make them return it because you have a chance to get them down sooner?
In college, I think that they would still prefer the safest route. I mean, think about college coaches, right? These are the people that, punt on 4th and 1 at the opponent 30.
Right.
Okay. So, or not punt, but try a field goal, whatever.
It's the parents.
Yeah, exactly. So they prefer the safe play, which is to, kick it out of the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
And NFL kickers don't always kick it out of the back of the end zone, but they can kick it pretty far into it.
Yeah.
That's what you want. You don't want a little, shallow wobbler moseying its way on up to just crossing the goal line as the guy's coming towards it at full momentum. That's not what you want. So that's on the kicker too. But then you see the coverage is also a mess. And look, the kicker, they have a kicker that can make field goals, which is good. And they've had that for a long time, to be fair. So I'm not talking all the special teams, but your coverage units and return units are super crucial. You can get yardage back. I mean, it's harder in the NFL. I think you don't see as many returns of kicks or punts, I feel like, as you used to.
No, I agree with you.
But at the same time, I've been at the point with the Panthers special teams over the years where I just y'all know I didn't like Britton Burson. Some of y'all who've been following me a long time. I mean, the person, Britton Burson's probably fine, but the player, because they had him back there on punt returns and literally he would just drop the football half the time. And I was like, are you serious? You have one job, sir. Just catch it and fall down in the fetal position. I don't care what you do. Don't drop it. Are you serious? And why do we keep putting him back there? Does he have pictures of Jerry Richardson? Literally what's happening?
Well, at this point, you don't need pictures. It's all out on Front Street with Jerry Richardson.
Whatever.
Who also is dead.
I'm not going to. Yeah.
I mean, just, note for anybody that wasn't aware, Jerry Richardson dead. Where are you at on the receivers at this point? Because I know last week you said that, it's a problem that Mingo seems like the best one right now, but this is not even close to the worst collection of wide receivers this team has ever fielded. That's
not necessarily a compliment.
Sure, no,
to
I
the score because the Panthers have had some truly awful wide receiver rooms over the years. And I do tend to rate the ones a little higher though, that had like a Smitty or a Moose and Muhammad. Right? Yeah, they don't have an alpha. Yeah,
right. Even Moose, who. I'm trying to think the right way to say this because I don't mean it as an insult at all. Moose was not Smitty, but he was still an upper quarter echelon receiver in the league.
Great hands, great ability to use his body. He was just so smart and savvy, and that's why I loved watching him too. And I could always trust him to catch it.
Yeah, and so I think that Adam Thielen is sort of showing you that at least the great hands part he can be.
He made some really tough catches in this game, including the touchdown. And just maybe he's lost some speed. He's 34, that's old in NFL years.
NFL years, sure.
I was debating my dad on that over the weekend. I'm like, no, he's like, well, some guys play. I'm like, yes, I know some guys play, but you can see he's lost a little bit of
have you and your dad talked about running backs yet?
No. No. Oh, well, he knows they don't last
27 is archaic at this point.
Right. Exactly. So but Thielen.
Which, by the way, brings me back to my Miles Sanders concern.
Yeah. But Thielen is just, you can count on him to make a catch, and that's why he's valuable for you. And he's somebody that Bryce can trust as well. And that's really important for a rookie quarterback, that you can trust that guy to make a tough catch for you. And Bryce threw it exactly where it had to go. And he positioned his body in a way that he was the only one that's going to catch that.
Not only that, he positioned his body in a way that he was the only one that was going to catch it. And also, he was so up against that sideline and gave himself enough room to dive in.
Yes, for sure. And that's hard.
Yeah.
Because usually they think of the sideline as another defender, which I'm sure the DB did too. But he managed to make it work. And look, he's the savvy vet as a wide receiver is not a bad thing to have.
No, agreed.
They can commit a little OPI here or there without the refs noticing it. And maybe a ref even giving him a pass because they like him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that the offense is always going to get a pass on PI more than the defense.
It's the NFL.
Right?
Let's be real. It's worse than in college. I mean, there were some PI flags in that game that I was like, are you serious? And I'm like, oh, right. It's the NFL. Never mind. Excuse me.
So with the receiver core, I think we know who the top three are. It's going to be some version of Thielen, Mingo, and Chark. After that, I counted this up during the preseason. If you include the check down to to Chuba Hubbard in the first game, Bryce only threw to 5 different guys. And one of them was Derek Wright, who he overthrew terribly in this game. Was Bryce too short on that play? Yes. But overall, no. I don't know that. Now, granted, the plan is probably, or is almost certainly, 3 receivers, a tight end, and a running back. So, maybe it doesn't matter that he didn't go much deeper in terms of working on timing with the roster, with the depth chart, and he's probably doing that in practice as well. But
yeah, probably.
Man, it was pretty scripted in terms of who he was throwing to in the preseason.
Yeah, he's had the same few targets, which worries you a little bit because you're like, well, and especially because they kept going down in that game, and that was making me nervous. Thielen went right back out, thankfully, but that caused my stomach to drop.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, no, no.
Especially when it's the go to commercial kind of injury.
Yes. Get the injury music. I don't know if they do the injury music.
No, it's only Fox that has the sad version of their theme for the injury music.
Yeah. So it's like, ooh, but yeah, I mean, they ended up being fine. I mean, it is what it is at wide receiver right now. Like I said, they've had worse units. They've got some talent there, but is it dynamic enough to maybe make plays against teams with really good secondary?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
You weren't seeing them get a lot of separation against the Jets or the Giants necessarily.
And as much as, Thielen is willing to get into those contested catch kind of battles, Adam Thielen is not a Mike Evans. He's not a David Boston. He's not a dude that just looks like a tree trunk became a receiver. Like, he does not look like he has so much strength that it does not matter whose hands are on that ball first.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. No. And I mean, I think he's going to be able to use his brain to beat out, a lot of younger, more athletic guys that are not as savvy as him. And that'll be good. But like I said, against teams with experienced defensive backfields, it's might be a long day at the office for the Panthers office.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to talk about some of what the national media said about Bryce Young after this game. Nate Tice, who is Mike Tice's son. I don't know why I'm compelled to play with this tiny lava lamp, but I'm going to.
Okay, that's fine.
The Nate Tice, who's Mike Tice's son, I believe works for The Athletic, but I'm not positive. He tweeted about the longest of Bryce's scrambles where he said, man, that duck was like next level, almost looked like a rehearsed dance number kind of move. It was so smooth. And it really was.
Sounds like something you would say.
Well, I mean, it was just very heads. I told you last week, improv Bryce is the best Bryce, right? And it was just very.
I mean, it was fine. It was nice and all. I don't know. It looked like choreography.
No, it did. You shut up. It was perfect. It was wonderful. He is just maybe the best quarterback that's ever played in the NFL. I don't want to go too far, but maybe. He's in the conversation. We can agree.
Stop it.
Okay. All right. Fine.
I wouldn't even look. I was and have been a Cam homer, big time. I wouldn't have even said that about Cam.
Yeah.
At his most elite, I would have said he was in the up there, but I wouldn't have said that any other, of the years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Cam didn't have to be smooth like this. Cam could murder you if he wanted to.
That's why I loved him.
Bryce would, if you murdered Bryce, he would apologize to you for being in your way. That's why it's so great to see him with these slick moves.
I will say this. I would like to see him get a little mean streak.
Agreed.
That'd be fun. I mean, I'm not saying I have to have a quarterback be like that, but also he does bounce back well. He bounces straight back up after getting hit. I like to see that. But
I can understand how if you do not
don't
love
apologize
Bryce,
to someone who murders you.
There's a little bit of too much shucks in it.
Right.
Yeah. No, I would feel that way in games like
talk a little shit, you know?
100%.
For lack of a better way of saying it.
No, 100%. Like
it's my favorite Cam thing.
The Texas game last year, I think because he is so confident, we've talked about this, he's going to make a play, he can get the job done. And obviously as fans, we were too, but at the same time, dude, you just threw 3 straight incomplete passes and you're walking back to the sideline with a huge smile on your face. Be a little bit angry that all 3 of those were incomplete because your receiver dropped them. Be mad at somebody.
Well, but that one I don't mind as much necessarily because I don't think he has to be a jerk to his own team. I want to see him be a jerk to the opponent, especially when we start getting into some division games. Talk that shit, man. That's fun.
As somebody that has never really felt one way or the other about the Panthers, my favorite Cam moment is the fight with Steve Smith. I want a little bit of, I know I'm better than you, to the guys in the marquee position.
And there was some tension there because I think they both sort of knew that. And,
yeah, for sure.
And that's partly why it became untenable. And, I love Smitty more than I love Cam.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that just was what it was. But yeah, I mean, one of my favorite Cam moments was when he said to Clay Matthews, "Oh, when he tried to call the wheel route out. Oh, you've been watching film, huh? Cool. Watch this."
Did you see the clip?
And then threw a touchdown.
Did you see the clip from Hard Knocks? It was one of the scripted practices kind of things where it is clear, sort of the opposite, right? Where Aaron Rodgers has been watching film and picks up what the defense is going to do, and so a safety comes down from out of the box, and Aaron Rodgers goes, "You're not rushing. Go back to your position."
Maybe you can try that in real life.
Maybe.
I mean, I might be shocked enough as an opposing defender to be like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you realize, wait, no.
Well, yeah, I don't have to listen to this guy. He's on the other team. Sorry, I had to return a text as we were talking there. All right, the other thing I did want to point out, Dan Orlovsky, who pointed out exactly the play you were talking about. He described that touchdown pass as, his words, not mine, so sick. So sick.
I think I said something similar. Because, literally that throw, A, was not easy to make.
Yep.
B, it had to go in, literally a very, very tiny window to have any chance of it being a catch. There was no margin for error on that. You had the sideline as an extra defender, which makes it extra tough. And both Thielen, I think I would give credit to Bryce for making the tough throw for sure, but also to Thielen for making that happen because he had to get in a position where only he could get that ball, and he did. He had that guy boxed all the way out.
And it's also one of those elements of you like to see, and I would say this about any rookie, not just Bryce, you like to see that he gets that there's a certain element of trust that has to be there, because if you, and I will, in the video, I will include exactly what it was Dan Orlovsky was looking at. If you see how far away Thielen is and how tightly he is covered to where Bryce throws, that is 100% faith that not only is your guy going to get there, but you are not going to, if your guy doesn't get there, that could be
a pick,
right?
Yeah, no, 100% it is, or it's just not an incompletion if you throw it too far to the side. But yeah, it was great. And you know what I also liked about it? It was a touchdown.
It was a touchdown.
It was the first one.
I think it is very important to let your football players, regardless of what level, regardless of their years of experience, I think it's important you let them play football.
You know what I think is important? Scoring touchdowns.
That I hope to see them do more of in the regular season than we saw in the preseason.
I literally made a Spotify playlist 3 years ago called I Miss Touchdowns with all sad music on it.
Oh.
Because I did, and I still have for quite some time, really since Cam left.
Yeah.
I have missed touchdowns.
Well, it has been a game plan that was not terrific.
No, you know what? You generally scoring less than 20 points in an NFL game, no offense, Matt Rule, is not great.
But here's the thing. For the people of Nebraska, they could not be more excited that type of football is coming back.
I'll just sit back and wait.
Did he?
Maybe he'll do great. I don't know.
Did he wound you in such a way that you are now rooting against Nebraska as well?
I find him to be an absurd human being.
I think so.
On all levels.
No. I believe this about Urban Meyer, about Nick Saban, about Bobby Petrino, anybody that makes the move from college to the pros. I think the first thing you learn is, we tolerate a lot of craziness at the college level.
Yeah. No, it just is no. We're the one of us nonsense, all of that. Absolutely not. But you know what? If that's your thing, cool.
Yeah.
Good for you. Do your thing.
Lauren, it's been a long time since you and I have talked about this, but because we are talking about college coaches that went to the pros, I do want to end the show by reminding everybody that Pete Carroll loves Macklemore and believes 9/11 was an inside job.
Yeah, that's fair to always remind people of.
Yeah.
Also is not the best human, but did you see that play? He played quarterback the other day. I think it was.
Why is everybody freaking out about that? That was a
70.
shitty throw.
Well, he's in his 70s.
But he wasn't he wasn't under pressure.
Oh, fair.
It was like peep-hop in the backyard.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I remain unimpressed.